left, Sarah went to make some food for John. She started by cutting up some fruits as she asked, "John, do you want me to make some chicken soup for you?" John didn't look at her but shook his head in a no. His eyes were blank and unfocused, as if he was not even present there. Sarah suddenly felt a little sad. She put down the fruit plate and looked at him worriedly. "If you want to talk, I promise I can be a good listener." John acted as if he didn't hear it, and his eyes were still in a daze. Sarah sat down, looked at him, and sighed. She would rather have John as angry as before, lashing out at everyone and making a mess, than how he was right now. He seemed completely closed off, ignoring the outside world and refusing to let anyone in. Sarah didn't force him anymore. Before, when Roman had called to ask about the situation, she had told him that John was in a bad mood, but the boss didn't seem to take it seriously. All he said was that John had always been a little weird before asking her not to provoke him. She sighed and raised her eyes to look at John, recalling how lively and energetic he usually was. As she looked at him now, she wondered why he became like this. Picking up her bag, Sarah said to John, "John, it's getting late now. Maybe you go to bed early. I'll be on my way now, and how about I pick you up tomorrow morning on my way to work?" John leaned against the bed without saying a word. Sarah shook her head, turned around, and walked towards the door, but after 2 steps, she heard John's voice. It was hoarse. "I think I am being punished for all the wrong things I have done in my life." Sarah turned around and walked up to him quickly and said, "John, thank God you finally spoke. I was so scared for a moment." Sarah carefully observed him and then asked, "John, what's the matter with you? Did something bad happen?" She thought John would not reply to her, but he did as he said very frankly. "Susan and I broke up." Seeing John in such a state, Sarah could only try and cheer him up with kind words. "John, you and Susan are a very good match. Don't you think that you should not break up just over some argument that you guys must have had? What's the matter? Please calm down and share it with me. Let me tell you, your fiancé is not unreasonable. If you want, I can try to talk to her." John smiled wryly. "It's none of anyone's business. I don't want anyone to interfere in my relationship." The two sat silently for a while, then John said, "You should get back to work. As you can see, I'm totally fine now. You don't need to check on me anymore. I will be back to work as soon as possible. Tell Roman to take care of my work." Sarah looked at him and said, "John, if you want to share something, trust me, it's no big deal. People don't have it in their hands to know who are they going to end up with. You shouldn't be angry at something none of us have any control over." John knew very well that she was worried about him, so he smiled and said, "Don't worry, Sarah. I'm fine, and please be careful on your way back." Sarah nodded and walked to the door. When she was about to leave, John called her again, so she turned to look at him. John smiled and said, "Thank you for taking care of me." It was rare for him to thank anyone in such a serious manner. Sarah felt a little embarrassed and said, "It's not a problem. I am happy to take over what Nina took care of for years." Sarah fled in panic after saying it. The next morning, Sarah saw John in the company. He seemed to be in a good mood and greeted her politely. "Sarah, good morning. It's lovely to see you." "Morning, Mr. John?" Sarah asked. "Why did you come to the company today? You should have taken a couple of days off. Didn't the doctor say you needed to be on bed rest and take a break from work?" "I am all right now," John smiled. "Thank you for putting up with me for so long yesterday." Sarah just smiled. "That's enough of you thanking me, John. I'm happy to be of your help." Sarah then said, "Are you here to find the boss?" "I don't think he will be here before lunch. I can give him a message if you have anything urgent." John looked at his watch and frowned. Why is he late again? Sarah smiled and said, "Do you want to know about the boss's affairs? I guess he said that he slept too late yesterday and couldn't get up this morning." As soon as she finished her sentence, the door was pushed open and Roman walked in with a blank face. Sarah became all red. Her heart was beating faster as she started getting all the things ready for her boss. John looked at her and smiled, following Roman into the office. When he entered the door, John said, "I received the news early in the morning. We have passed the third trial. The official notice should come down later. We need to tell the finance department to start the payment process. Okay, you can figure out the details and come to me if you have any issues, Roman said as he sat down and opened the picture album in his hand. John took a look at it. The first thing his boss did at work was to look at the picture album that had all kinds of dresses. Are you looking for a dress to buy for Daisy? Roman nodded, pointing to one of them as he said, She likes this one. What do you think? John looked at it absent-mindedly and said, As long as she likes it. Roman laughed with a helpless look. She likes everything that is pretty and colorful. I guess her taste is bright and floral. Roman closed the album and took a careful look at him. I heard that you were sick. What's going on? Who told you that? John raised his eyebrows. It's Sarah, isn't it? I don't know what's the matter with your secretary. Can't she keep anything to herself? It was not her, Roman said. I called the doctor and he told me about it. John shook his head. Anyways, I should get back to work. I have to catch up on a lot. Seeing that he was about to leave, Sarah stopped him again. Mr. John, the venue I asked you to find last time. Did you select one? I have already taken care of it. You don't have to worry about it. John stood by the door and said in a rough voice, I will send you the specific details when the time comes. John's face was still dark when he left with a wave of his hands. Sarah pouted. He was moody. The venue that John decided on was the Miller Hotel, which was owned by none other than Adam Miller. At first, Roman was reluctant, but then he gave in. As for the invitations mentioned by John, Roman had insisted on using his own name, but John forced him to step back. They were sent out under the company's name. If there was no specific person mentioned, the media wouldn't cook up stories about it. As Daisy's birthday was getting closer, Sarah put aside all other business affairs and concentrated on intensive planning for the gala. Daisy's ball involved almost the entire office. Flowers were flown in from abroad to the venue, and drinks and everything else were also handled by her. She couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Roman had been in a particularly good mood these days. He had to oversee all the preparation and go through with the management. Sarah always made sure to run every detail by him. Roman listened to her plans carefully and made all the necessary approvals. He was very assured of Sarah's ability to handle these affairs. Finally, all the preparations were done and the grand day had arrived. Sarah led the staff of the office to guide the guests into the hall. John attended to the guests as a senior executive of the company and made sure to supervise everything. Since the invitation was issued in the name of the company, most of the people who attended were investors and stockholders along with some business friends. Looking around, the whole gala was full of well-dressed people who saw it as a business opportunity to build their network. Although none of them had invited Adam, the owner of the hotel, he still came in to wish Daisy on her day. Roman couldn't drive him out even though he didn't like him attending his party one bit. It was not the first time they had met at a party, so they maintained a somewhat cordial relationship. Daisy, however, was nowhere to be found. She was sitting in the waiting room ridden with nerves on her big day. Before, she had been somewhat excited about her birthday, but as the day got closer and closer, she couldn't help but regret the idea. She was wearing a white gown, making her look elegant and graceful. Roman sat with her for a while, calming her down, but then went out to get a phone call. Sarah came in to meet her with the other 3 girls who then surrounded Daisy. Mia saw Daisy and said, "Daisy, you look so pretty today. I almost couldn't recognize you." Emily added, "Is this dress custom made by Valentino? It's so beautiful." Daisy didn't know what they were going on about. All she knew was that Roman gave her this dress and she loved it. Emily thought for a moment and then asked her, "Isn't your boyfriend here yet, Daisy? I thought you would be on the dance floor with him, but here you are sitting all by yourself." "He was here." Daisy didn't know how to answer her, but Mia helped her out. "He must be busy attending the guests, Emily. Let's not bother him for now. We would anyway meet him before the night is over." Emily said, "That's right. It's better to keep him a mystery. Makes it more fun. Let's go to the hall to see who can spot him first." Daisy was mainly concerned about Roman. She couldn't find him anywhere. He had comforted her, saying that there wouldn't be any problem. Later, Sarah and John also said the same, so she believed it. In the past, she didn't want to make her relationship with Roman public because she was worried about Caroline, but now that she knew that there was nothing between them in the first place, she thought she could go ahead with it. Okay, stay here with Sarah. We'll come back after we have met everyone. Have fun. Emily smiled as she went out with Mia to meet her friends. The two did not enter the lobby, but instead walked along the corridor to the elevator. Emily pressed the button and Mia suddenly panicked. Emily, do you really want to do this? Daisy is quite honest and treats us well. I don't think we should go ahead with our plan. Emily interrupted her coldly. What do you mean? Are you backing out at the last moment? You weren't so fond of her earlier, so what made you change your mind now? I didn't mean that, Mia muttered. I'm just a little nervous. Why are you nervous? Emily snorted. We want to expose Daisy's true colors. No one asked her to pretend to be so innocent. She is just a girl from some countryside, and look at her today, posing as some rich socialite to bait some rich guy to marry her. The elevator door opened and they walked out to room 12 when someone opened the door. They saw a boy sitting on the sofa with a gloomy face and a pair of black-rimmed glasses. It was Ethan himself. Emily turned her head and smiled at the person who opened the door. Hey there, Caroline. Did you all agree to the plan? It's all settled. Caroline came over and sat down. Emily looked at Ethan worriedly. You can't do it if you act this gloomy all night. You need to be happy at least in front of Daisy so that she doesn't get any clue. Besides, Roman once thought of you as his competition for Daisy's love, so he will pay attention to you today. Don't worry, I agreed to it so I would go all the way through. Ethan looked at Caroline. This is the last time I will help you, and after it is done, I want what I was promised. Of course. Caroline patted him on the shoulder. I have already asked my tutor to write a recommendation letter for you. Based on your grades, a full scholarship will not be a problem. After the semester is over, you will be able to get your master's. Ethan took a deep breath, and his eyes flickered. He thought for a while and said, I think I should show up later so that people from the company don't notice me. That's fine, Caroline said. As soon as Daisy enters the party, the plan should come into action. After that, you can get out of here. Ethan nodded and sat on the sofa with a solemn expression on his face. Caroline threw a pack of cigarettes on the coffee table and said, If you're nervous, take a smoke. Ethan stared blankly at the box of cigarettes but didn't reach out to take it, as his eyes seemed to be turning darker with each passing moment. The party was in full swing. Every detail had been taken care of. Silver balloons lined the walls and hung from the ceiling. Golden chandeliers lit every corner of the hall, casting an enchanting glow throughout. The drinks were being served and couples swayed on the dance floor in sweet drunkenness. John walked through the crowd with a pleasant smile, proud of his success at hosting such a party. He caught sight of Tony coming in. I haven't seen you in a while, Tony remarked. John raised his eyebrows. Yes, I'm so sorry for disappearing, though I missed you every day, so much so that I couldn't sleep at night. Tony put his arm around him. I met your brother just now. We talked for a while. He is so much fun. John was very surprised. No way. My brother is here too. I didn't invite him. Tony said, Your brother has never been interested in these galas, so I guess he came to meet you. What does he want from me now? John sneered. Tony looked around for a while and said, Why aren't the host and birthday girl here yet? John sighed and said, Daisy was feeling very anxious, so Roman went to cheer up the girl again. Everyone is waiting for them to enter, but I don't know how long it will take. He is too easy on her. If it were up to him, he would even let her bail out from the party. Tony said with a smile, He is all wrapped up in her love, isn't he? John said, Right. Anyway, I'll go find my brother. See you later. When John came out in the hallway, he saw his brother Cole smoking a cigarette leaning against the wall. Hey, Mr. Smith, what brings you here tonight? I don't recall seeing you on the guest list. John let out a mocking chuckle. Cole turned around and remarked with a smile, Everyone knows you as Mr. Smith here, dear brother. Then what should I call you? President Smith, perhaps? John retorted. Cole smiled. Is it difficult for you to call me your brother? John regarded him for a second and then changed the subject. Why are you here? I was invited, so I thought to show up. It would have been such a waste if I missed such a great party, Cole said. Then he continued with a smug, Spencer's party is for some girl, and everyone is waiting to see who got so lucky. I am no exception, John shrugged. Since you are here, have fun with it. I'm going to get busy now. Cole held him back. We just met right now. Why are you leaving so soon? Don't you have anything to say to me? Maybe catch up a little bit with our lives? John looked at the hand holding his arm and said, No, not now. Cole stopped joking and his voice turned serious. Listen to me. Why did you break up with Susan? I thought you were sensible, but now it looks like you are making a mess of everything. When Mom got to know about it, you have no idea how angry she was. What is going on with you? Can't you even tell your family about it? We got to know about your broken engagement from Susan through tabloids. You have had enough fun. Don't you think you should think about settling down now? Aren't you still single? John sneered back. You're the one who makes Mom worry about everything. Leave my business alone, why don't you? Cole had been single for a long time now, and John seemed to have hit the right nerve pointing that out. Cole pulled him back as he was about to leave. Aren't you going to give me any explanation? His voice sank as he continued. Why do you look so pale? Are you upset about Susan leaving? What happened, John? You are making us so worried about you. No, I am fine. John smiled slyly. Do I look like the kind of guy who sulks over women leaving him? He said with a smug look. I know you're not, Cole asked. Let me ask you this. Who is the girl you are throwing this party for? Is she the reason you broke up with Susan? John laughed out loud and patted his brother. As much as I enjoy how your mind works, you should put it to rest. She is Roman's girl, and I am just heading all the arrangements for tonight. He then turned and went back to his guests. Looking at his brother walking back, Cole shook his head helplessly. When John entered, everyone had gathered around the staircase as Roman took Daisy's hand and walked her down the stairs slowly. They made everyone let out a low sigh. John hurriedly squeezed through the crowd, stepped up the stairs, and took Daisy's other hand. Daisy took it and made her way down. If it weren't for Roman holding her tightly, she would have turned around and run away. The most unbearable thing for her was to be at the center of everyone's attention. There was a murmur going around in the crowd. Everyone was shocked to see Roman escorting a girl to the gala. Those who were close to the Spencer family knew that Roman had no women in his heart except Iris, so seeing this other woman left everyone surprised. But as soon as John appeared by her side, everyone seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. It wasn't unusual for John to host such an event for a girl. Most of the people present had already guessed it to be John who threw the party for Daisy. They were just curious about Daisy's background. She didn't look like she belonged here among them. Seeing them approaching the party, an announcement was made. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Our birthday girl, Miss Daisy, is here with us. She is accompanied by Mr. Roman, the president of the Spencer Group, and Mr. John, the general manager. Let us give them a warm round of applause. There was thunderous applause from below that made Daisy almost dizzy. She did nothing, just lowered her head and let the two men walk her around. Next, I would like to invite General Manager John to say a few words in honor of tonight. Roman was slightly taken aback. He should be the one delivering the speech, but what the hell had happened? John didn't look at him either. He just went ahead with a smile on his face, cleared his throat, and began, Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for honoring us with your presence at Miss Daisy's special occasion. He looked sideways at Daisy with a bright smile. To our birthday girl, Miss Daisy, we wish that you enjoy your day. When Daisy heard John talk to her, she became more nervous. If she knew it was going to be such a big socializing event, she would have forced Roman to spend her birthday alone at their house. Roman could see her panic and felt that maybe he pushed it too far. He shouldn't have made her do this before she was ready. Holding her hand tightly, Roman slowly leaned in. Baby, don't be scared. I'm here with you. His gentle words made her want to hide in the man's arms and let him take her away. But how could she leave? It was her party after all, and Roman hoped that she could make it through the night. John saw the two of them and said, "On this beautiful night, let us make a toast and send our most sincere wishes for Miss Daisy." After John finished speaking, he walked up to Daisy and stood beside her, holding her hand. Roman cheered her up. "Daisy, be brave, you can do it." Daisy nodded lightly. John whispered in her ear, "If you want to be good for Roman, don't have the first dance with him." Daisy glanced at him and nodded, knowing he meant well. After a while, the girl was standing alone, without the company of Roman and John, and she was so nervous that she didn't know where to go. Her eyes flicked timidly through the crowd, filled with unfamiliar faces that frightened her. Standing in the crowd, Adam looked at Daisy's somewhat terrified face and wanted to help her. He made his way to her, and Daisy also recognized him. Everyone in the party knew Adam very well. They were surprised to see him attend an event hosted by the Spencers, since he always chose to be kind of a recluse. So everyone guessed that he might have been interested in Daisy. He held out his hand for Daisy, but much to everyone's shock, she refused to take it. Then Tony came by her and asked her for a dance. Just when everyone thought that Daisy would refuse again, the girl took his offer. Tony stepped forward all gentlemanly and led Daisy down the stairs onto the dance floor. Roman and John came back to the party and saw this unfold. The reason why Daisy was willing to dance with Tony was simple. She was his partner at Emily's ball that they had attended, and she had a good time dancing with him. Tony took her to the dance floor and was pleasantly surprised to find that Daisy had made great progress. He smiled and said, "Daisy, I haven't seen you in a while, but damn, you have some moves." Daisy looked at him and said, "We just met a few days ago at Emily's party. You don't have to take everything literally, Daisy." "I was trying to make a move on you." Tony looked up at Roman, who was walking down the stairs. "Why didn't you dance with your boyfriend? Look at him standing all alone staring at us." Daisy whispered to him, "John said that it could create unnecessary chatter if I have my first dance with Roman." It would have been a scandal, of course. Tony was well aware of it. "Then why didn't you dance with John?" Daisy blinked. Why didn't she think about dancing with John if not Roman? "I didn't think of it," the girl replied honestly, and laughed again when she looked at him. "Dancing with you is also very fun. You are a fine company." As soon as Daisy's words escaped from her lips, Tony lifted her into the air with a twist and let her land on his feet. Now, when Roman saw that, he felt his rage build up. Here he was standing all alone in the corner while Tony was having the dance of his life with Daisy. He was so angry that he was about to rush over to grab Daisy, but John quickly dragged him back and said in a low voice, "If you want to ruin this day for Daisy, then go ahead. What are you doing, man? Just get it together." Roman stopped whatever he was trying to do in anger and thought about Daisy for a moment. His original intention was to let Daisy have an unforgettable birthday, to give her the best in grandeur and splendor. She had seen enough of tough times. Now that she was in his life, Roman wanted to make it as comfortable as possible. He could very easily act on his impulses and make Daisy leave the dance floor, but the smile that had lit up her entire face would also be gone. He didn't want her to go back to being all nervous and jittery instead of enjoying the moment. His heart didn't let him snatch that joy away from her. Tony may be a flirt, but he knew him to be a gentleman. He decided that he would let him have this for now. Apart from everyone being taken aback by Adam and Tony's arrival, another surprise was presented to them in the form of John's brother, Cole. He was known to be even more aloof and low-key than Roman, but today he was in such a public event, even though it was not his family's event. They thought of Daisy to be related to John, but they couldn't figure out what made the Spencers and the Smiths fawn over that mystery girl. After Daisy and Tony finished dancing, Roman rushed up to pull her in his arms. Daisy saw that Roman did not look very pleased and asked him, "Did I do something wrong? You don't look very happy." Roman kept silent with a stone-cold look on his face. Daisy shook her head and dared not to speak. The two went on the floor and started moving to the tune. It wasn't until the song ended that Roman asked her, "Why didn't you have your first dance with me?" Hearing Roman speak, Daisy raised her head and said softly, John said it would lead to gossip and speculation, which could have been easily avoided. You just listen to everything he says, don't you? Daisy nodded. I didn't want to be a trouble for you. Hearing this, Roman felt a pang in his heart. It should have been him going out of his way to make things happen for Daisy, but here she was, putting his interest over her happiness. He didn't know what to say for a moment, so he remained silent. The song stopped, and Roman was about to go for one more when John seemed to appear out of nowhere and stood in between them. John blinked at Daisy. Dear birthday girl, it's my turn to dance with you now. Daisy looked at Roman and was still a bit hesitant. John said, I don't usually have this opportunity, so you can let me dance with her today, Roman. Roman waved his hands distractedly. Go and dance. John hurriedly dragged Daisy to the middle of the dance floor, away from Roman. Daisy, I told you before not to let everything between you and Roman be very evident to people. If anything gets back to his parents' ears, you two will face some serious consequences. So for his good and yours, don't get too close to him, okay? Daisy nodded. She would never do anything bad to Roman. If someone asks you for a dance, just go ahead with it. Don't be afraid, no one will bully you, John said. You are an adult now. This is your dance party and you need to flex that to others. Daisy was undoubtedly the star of the evening. The birthday party had turned more of a debutante ball for her. Everyone was excited to know even the slightest details about her. Who was this timid-looking girl who had mysteriously appeared in their elite society? And why was she being escorted around by John and Roman as though she held a lot of importance for them? They had to know about her background. Daisy remembered what John had said, so when Adam came to ask her for a dance, she stepped onto the dance floor with him. Adam came to Daisy purely to try his luck. He never thought that she would agree to it. Seeing Daisy willing to dance with him, Adam was a little surprised. He felt very insecure when he dealt with her, and he had no idea why she made him feel that. He was so charming to all the other girls around him, but what he constantly faced with Daisy was rejection. At least got accepted for this dance. Roman stood in the distance and watched silently. He was a little surprised to see Daisy dance with Adam. His eyes narrowed and he looked at John. What on earth did you tell her? John didn't hide the advice he had given to Daisy. He looked at Roman and said, You protect her way too much, but when it comes to outsiders, she is still the same. She needs to experience and understand some things by herself. You can't always be there to enable her life. It won't be fair to Daisy or even you for that matter. She needs to learn to be independent and know how to tell right from wrong. Today is a good opportunity. Just let her get used to it slowly. John's words were earnest, and Roman knew that he was saying it for his and his family's betterment. If he was photographed and published in tomorrow's newspaper with Daisy, his father would see it, and his condition may worsen. He didn't want to be causing his family any trouble. Even though Roman agreed to John's arrangement, that in no way meant that it would be easy for him. Seeing Daisy panicked, he couldn't help but want to comfort her and take her away from all this noise, but he couldn't. All he could do was watch her helpless and flustered. At this time, several big investors from the business world came over to greet them, and Roman had to indulge them in a conversation. On the dance floor, Adam twirled Daisy around, but he did not speak a word to her. Seeing that the dance was coming to an end, he finally couldn't help but ask, Why didn't you dance with me before? I don't like you, the girl answered very simply. Although he was mentally prepared and it was not the first time he had heard this from her, Adam was still unhappy. He asked her again, Then why are you dancing with me now? Because you are a guest, and I am supposed to be nice to you, Daisy said seriously. John told me that. Adam looked at her and said, Give me one more dance. No, I think we have done enough. Daisy flatly refused. Why? Adam said. What about your hospitality? Daisy looked at him and frowned. People shouldn't be that greedy. As soon as the music stopped, Daisy left him. Adam looked at her going back in the crowd. He turned around and walked in the other direction. Someone stopped her and asked, How silly of us to come to your party and not even introduce ourselves well enough. So where are you from, Miss Daisy, if you don't mind me asking? I mean, who knows if our families know each other, but we haven't been fortunate enough to get to know you. You don't look familiar to me. Another one asked, Miss Daisy, are you very close to Mr. Smith's family? You seem to know Mr. Miller, too. What business is your family involved in? Daisy tried to open her mouth but couldn't utter a word. She didn't dare to look at people. She was extremely panicked when someone reached out to her. Daisy. She looked up and saw that it was Ethan. She had invited him but didn't expect him to attend the gala. She held his hand in surprise and said, Ethan, you're here. Ethan smiled at the young ladies. I'm sorry, but I will have to take Miss Daisy away for now. Daisy saw Ethan leading her out through the side door, so she stopped in a hurry and said, Where are you taking me? I'm not taking you anywhere. Ethan smiled and said, I thought you seemed very nervous, so I wanted to take you outside to get some air. Daisy smiled. I was so nervous all night. You have no idea at all. I wanted to run away. I couldn't even breathe with them hovering all around me. Ethan handed the drink he had been holding to her and said, Come on, have a drink. It will calm down your nerves. Daisy smiled at him gratefully and took it. It was sweet and sour and a bit cold. She happened to like how it tasted and drank it all in one gulp. Ethan smiled and said, If you don't pace yourself, you are going to get drunk very soon. Daisy said, It's okay. Last time at Emily's ball, I had 3 drinks and I wasn't even a little bit wasted. Ethan didn't speak, just looked at her and smiled. Daisy stroked her forehead and frowned slightly. Did I drink too fast? I'm feeling really dizzy. I'll take you somewhere to rest, Ethan said and supported her to walk forward. Daisy said, Where are you going to take me? I think they'll be looking for... Before she could finish her words, she collapsed on Ethan's body. He wrapped her arms around his neck and got into the elevator. Roman was dragged to chat with several people who had business dealings with his company. He kept them engaged, but his eyes searched for Daisy in the crowd. He checked around the entire hall, but she was nowhere to be seen. He thought she might have gone to the powder room for a bit, or must have been talking to her friends. He left in a hurry to the door and saw Sarah standing there, so he asked her, Did you see Daisy? Sarah shook her head. I haven't seen her come out. Roman walked into the hall again and saw Lila talking to a girl, so he then asked her, Was Daisy here with you? She shook her head, making Roman say, Could you look around for her? She then went to look for her, not getting why Roman was in such a hurry to find her. They walked in the elevator and got out on the floor above in search of Daisy. She suddenly saw Emily along with a girl walking into a room, so she walked over to them to see if they knew where Daisy was. Emily had closed the door and was acting a bit strange, so she put her ear against the door to hear if something was going on inside. Much to her disappointment, she wasn't able to make out what they were discussing. Just then, someone patted her on the shoulder and she jumped up in fright. Turning around, she saw a woman smiling at her. You are here for Emily, right? Why don't you go in? She recognized this woman as Emily's friend. She had seen her last time at her party. Lila was caught eavesdropping, so she felt a little embarrassed. Yes, I was looking for Emily. Caroline rang the doorbell and Emily came to answer. Seeing Lila standing there with Caroline, she was surprised, to say the least. She looked at Caroline to know what was going on. Caroline said with a calm face, Your friend was looking for you. She gently pushed Lila. Go in and have a seat. She walked into the room and saw Ethan there. She opened her mouth in surprise, wondering how these people got together. Caroline sat down, smiled at her gently, and said to Emily, Lock her up in the bathroom. Lila was in a daze, wondering what was going on, when Emily grabbed her and pushed her into the bathroom, locking her in. Lila was not able to react on time and ended up getting dragged in the room. Lila's heart sank. She had a very bad intuition about what they were planning to do. What are you guys trying to do? Open the door, what's wrong with you people? Caroline said with a menacing smile on her face. If you try to act smart with us again, I will make sure to ruin you along with your friend Daisy. So shut the hell up and stay put. Lila's eyes widened in horror. They were going to do something very bad to Daisy, and she couldn't even help her now. No wonder Roman was so worried about finding out where she was. Why was Ethan here then? Was he with them too? Lila couldn't even think straight anymore. Ethan didn't pay any attention to the drama and sat there smoking continuously. Meanwhile, Emily stood there biting her nails and thinking hard about what they were onto. She was scared of getting caught, not to mention what hell would unfold if Roman got a whiff of what they were doing. Caroline asked Emily again, "Is everything arranged already?" She nodded and asked worriedly, "Caroline, what if we get caught? My parents will kill me if they get to know what mess I am creating." "Don't worry, nothing is going to happen to us," Caroline comforted her. "Weren't you angry at her for being such a list? What has changed now? As long as those pictures of her get out in public, nothing can save her. Besides, I can assure you that no one will be able to find out." Ethan, who had been sitting silently for a long time, suddenly threw the cigarette into the ashtray and said, "Hurry up if you want to get this shit done. I don't feel very good." Caroline pulled him up. "It's almost time. You go in and do as we planned earlier." Ethan took a deep breath, strode over and pushed open the door of the bedroom. His eyes fell upon the unconscious figure lying on the bed wearing a snow-white dress with some hair covering her face. Ethan closed the door, walked over, and brushed the hair off Daisy's face. His movements were very gentle, as if he was afraid of waking her up. His fingers skimmed over her smooth and delicate face and noticed how hot her head was. Ethan was startled to see Daisy in such a state. Did she have a fever? He froze for a moment and touched his own face only to notice it to also be on fire. Everything clicked for him instantly. He was lied to and given a dose of the drug himself along with Daisy. He was so confused, though, since he didn't even drink a sip of water. Suddenly, the cigarettes came to his mind. Caroline had made him smoke some crap. He instantly regretted making a deal with such a cunning person. Why did he trust her in the first place after knowing what she was capable of doing? With the last sliver of reason, he rushed towards the door, but it was too late. They had locked him in. He turned around to see Daisy only trying to find her, slowly regaining her consciousness. She looked at him with a weird smile. "Ethan," she called out to him, making him panic. "Don't come here, Daisy. Please stay where you are." Daisy's cheeks were flushed. She stood up staggeringly as her white skirt dragged on the ground. Her eyes were dazed as she walked towards him. Ethan leaned against the door panel, watching her take her clothes off. "It's so hot, Ethan. I'm on fire." "No, you need to stop doing that, Daisy." Ethan was still holding onto his last thread. "Please come to your senses. You will destroy yourself." But Ethan yelled in vain, wanting to push her away, but all she did was hug him tightly. Roman searched around, but did not see Daisy anywhere. He called Sarah and John to help him find her. All of a sudden, there was a sudden commotion in the hall. On the large screen present on the stage, Daisy's photos were getting displayed. There were continuous gasps from all around, followed by a lot of discussion. Just then, John received a call, making him and Roman rush over and see the drama unfold at the party. Roman's eyes widened, and he was stunned for a second before shouting at John, "Go and unplug the projector. Hurry up." John quickly ran to the back and unplugged everything, making the screen go black. The guests looked at each other, wondering what was happening. Roman shouted with rage-filled eyes, "Go and find her." At this time, the crowd gasped again. Tony looked at them and saw that they were all looking at their phones. He quickly took out his phone and saw what was going on. Someone had posted a video of Daisy and Ethan in a compromising situation on the internet, and it was still broadcasting. Roman roared loudly, "Where the hell is she? How can she get lost in a hotel?" Roman's face was ferocious. Tony's phone rang, and it was Adam who said that the surveillance showed that Daisy and a man went up to the 18th floor. Roman was informed, and as soon as he got to know, he saw that the door of the room was locked, making him kick it in anger. At this time, someone suddenly opened the door and shouted, "Mr. Roman, Daisy is in here." It was Lila, who had managed to climb out of the bathroom through a vent. Roman rushed into the room, grabbed Ethan, and flung him out of the door. Daisy, who had lost her source of warmth, looked up only to see Roman standing there. Roman kicked Ethan continuously till he lay there on the ground, whimpering and crying. Tony pulled Roman back and restrained him. "Stop, or else you will kill him." Too many things have happened tonight. My mind is a complete mess. After stopping the car, I realized that I had driven to your house. Nina, He raised his head, looked into Nina's eyes, and said, I miss you. Nina remained still after hearing it. She didn't even blink her eyes, just stared blankly at him. John suddenly became a little conscious, scared that she would say something harsh again to make him back off. When she didn't move, he looked at her and called her out again. Nina, are you okay? The sound seemed to wake her up from the dream. Nina turned her back, her shoulders shaking slightly, making John rush forward and hug her from behind. He didn't say a word, just hugged her tightly. It was a strange feeling, as if his heart had stopped feeling restless and his mind was at peace again. After a long time, he called her hoarsely, Nina. But Nina flicked him, turned around, and said coldly, John, what are you trying to do with me? John suddenly froze upon hearing her. He slowly let go of her hand and looked at her. What will I want from you? Why do you keep pushing me away? You should tell me what exactly it is that you want. Nina smiled sarcastically. I still want to know what is going on with you. John, let me make it clear once again that I am not the woman you think of me to be. You should stop thinking that you can act with me in whichever way you like, because I don't work for you anymore. You are standing here blurring all the lines between us, and you dare to ask me why I am acting a certain way. I didn't do anything wrong to you, John said seriously. I like you. After you left, I realized that I liked you a lot. Really, Nina, I don't know anything without you in my life. I have no idea how to even live anymore. Come back to me, please, she replied. You need to figure your life out. Stop this nonsense, and for once don't act like the selfish ass you are. You have a fiancé, for God's sake, and here you are saying such things to me. Not anymore, John interrupted her. I don't have a fiancé anymore. We broke up. I didn't want to lie to myself or her, so we went our separate ways. Even then, I'm tired of this. Nina went to the sofa and sat down. John, I will give you a piece of advice. From now on, be serious about your relationships. Don't mislead others just for the sake of entertainment. John became anxious, so he walked over to hold her hands, but Nina pushed him away. Nina, you are not trying to understand me. I broke up with her because I didn't want to confuse her and myself. The person I like is you and not Susan. Nina looked at him, acting indifferent to whatever he said. John thought for a while and then asked, Why were you still awake so late? I've always been a night owl. Nina rolled her eyes at him. Besides, are you trying to control when I go to bed or wake up? If you hate me so much, why did you let me in so late? Because it was very dark out, and I didn't want to disturb the neighbors, so I allowed you in. John was at a loss and said, Anyways, it's still too dark and I drank too much at the gala. I won't be able to drive back home, so I'll stay with you overnight. Nina was stunned for a moment. She probably didn't expect him to make such a move. She stood up and yelled at him sharply, John, don't be a pervert all over again. Just go back and leave me alone. John stood up with a smile and walked to the room. Don't be stingy. You have 2 rooms here. I'll just stay for the night. How about I pay you whatever you are willing to charge? John, don't be so absurd. Nina came over to drag him out to the door. Instead, John grabbed her with one arm and led them into the room. This is my room. Nina struggled in his arms. It doesn't matter. Let me take a look around. John let go of Nina and walked in. Have you seen enough? Nina stood behind him, yelling at him ferociously. If you are done now, then please get out. John laid down on the bed and said to Nina, I'll just sleep here. It's too late now. You should go to sleep too and don't worry about me. Nina said, I don't have any extra pillows and blankets for you. It's okay. John closed his eyes and said, By the way, turn off the lights for me when you leave. Nina stood quietly at the door for a while. Perhaps out of helplessness, she finally left. John opened his eyes and laughed silently in the darkness. No matter what, at least he stayed and slept with her in her house, and that made him happy. The dawn came in, and John looked at the time only to find that it was still too early. He got out of bed, opened the door, and listened for a while, but he didn't hear anything. He tiptoed to Nina's room, but there was no sound. She probably hadn't woken up yet. John then went to the kitchen again and opened the refrigerator to see if he could make some breakfast for Nina before she woke up. The only things he found in the fridge were bread and eggs. He thought about what he could do with them, and then settled on making some French toast. He knew that Nina would like them, and it was an easy enough thing to make. Nina had helped him a lot last night, and this could be a way to thank her for all her efforts. He had very often seen in movies how the male lead made breakfast for the girl he liked to make a good impression, so he thought to give it a try and impress Nina. Since it was his first time to make someone breakfast, he made sure that he did everything with great focus. He looked more like he was preparing for a sales pitch for an investor rather than assembling some bread and eggs. Just when he thought he had nailed the task, there was a smell of something burning. He turned around to take a look, only to find it coming from his French toast on the pan. He had forgotten to turn off the stove after he was done cooking, and now everything had turned into a black, charred toast. Someone opened the front door with a key and came in. It was Nina who had come back from somewhere. No wonder he didn't wake her up while making such a big mess. Nina looked at her disorganized kitchen in surprise and asked him, "What are you doing?" John said dejectedly, "Can't you tell? I'm making breakfast." Nina's expression softened a little and she said, "Come out and have breakfast. I got it from the cafe nearby." John looked at his burnt French toast with a sigh and walked out dejectedly. "I wasn't done cooking, by the way." Nina gave him a blank look and muttered, "You are such a handful. I don't know what to do with you at times." She went to the cabinet, took some dishes, and started taking the food out. She handed him a plate. "I bought them for you so early in the morning, so don't throw a tantrum if it isn't good. No, I love blueberry pancakes. Thanks for doing this for me." The frustration on John's face was gone now, and he smiled again. While he ate, Nina went into the kitchen and made some coffee to go with it. John sat down and said, "These are so delicious, Nina. This place must be amazing. I bought it at the cafe at the end of the block. The food there is the best." Nina seemed to be in a good mood, and she was willing to chat with him. John took the opportunity and asked, "Nina, are we good now?" Nina cut up her pancakes with a knife and continued eating without saying a word, as if she wanted to hear what he meant. John was very disturbed when he couldn't hear the answer and asked again, "We have always gotten along well. When you were my secretary, I was kind to you, right? You don't work for me now, but we can still be friends, right?" Nina looked at him for a long time and finally said, "What do you want to do if I agree to be friends with you?" "I don't want to do anything. I just want us to be friends. And then what? What do you think will change then?" Nina raised her eyebrows, looking at him warily. "There is nothing after that," John tried to be sincere. "It's just a friendship. Maybe I had done many bad things before, but now I have changed a lot. At least I am trying to. If you see me now, you will notice that I have really changed a lot. What does it mean for us to get along?" she asked. "Since we are friends, we will definitely be in touch with each other. It will be normal to see each other occasionally. I don't know, have a meal and chat," he replied, hoping she would agree. Nina swallowed her breakfast and said lightly, "I don't plan on along with you, and I don't want to be friends with you. Don't think that just because I took you in last night, you can make any assumptions about us. We are still the same as before. In other words, if we bump into each other sometimes, we will pretend that we don't know each other. This shouldn't be that difficult for you, right?" "Why?" John really didn't understand her. "Isn't it okay to just be friends? I won't be disrupting your life. I like a low-key, quiet life, and I don't want you in it," Nina said. "Now you've bothered me enough, so let's just stop talking about it." John sighed, lowered his head, and ate the breakfast which had now lost all taste silently. He thought it was a good start when he came to her last night and slept in. She had even given him a quilt in the middle of the night and brought him breakfast this morning. He finished his food and walked to the sink to wash his plate. Nina said, "You don't need to do that. Just put it over there. I will do it later." John didn't listen to her, as if he was angry, so he stood by the sink, throwing all the dirty dishes in to wash by himself. He didn't know how to do them, so he poured in a lot of dish soap and started scrubbing. He even overflowed the sink, getting soap and water all over the floor. Nina stood at the door and shook her head. "John, There is no need for this. I didn't even want you to make breakfast. Look at what you have done to my kitchen." John didn't wear an apron, so now his body was all wet and the kitchen looked even more messy. He was in a bad mood, so he said in a rough voice, "Don't worry, I'll mop the floor later." Nina stopped talking, letting him work in the kitchen alone, and turned back to the room. John mopped the kitchen floor and cleaned everything on the counter. He was tired and sweaty, but then again, maybe this would make Nina reward him with lunch. Roman had just woken up from his sleep and noticed Daisy stirring up from her slumber. He stroked her back, wanting her to go back to sleep peacefully, but Daisy opened her eyes and stared blankly at his chest. "Daisy," he called her in a low voice, still full of sleepiness. "You're awake." Daisy raised her head to look at him and frowned. "I have a headache." Roman gently massaged her head with his fingers and said, "Sleep for a while if you can. I will be here when you wake up." Daisy closed her eyes. "What time is it?" 10 o'clock, he replied. Daisy groaned and looked up at him. "Aren't you going to work?" "No," he said softly. "I'm not going anywhere today. I'll stay here with you." "But even I have to go to college. I can't miss my classes," Roman said lazily. "Take the day off. We can spend it together." Daisy tried to sit up, but as soon as she moved, she felt as if she had been severely beaten and she had a severe backache. The two of them cozied up on the bed for a while, when Daisy suddenly noticed that they were not at home, but instead in some hotel room. She saw the dress she had worn last night on the bedside table and tried to remember everything. Daisy frowned when nothing came to her. She was blank and couldn't remember what had happened after she had left the dance floor. Seeing her in a daze, Roman asked, "Baby, what are you thinking about? Why didn't we go home to sleep last night?" "Because last night was special." The man pressed his lips on her forehead, his voice a little muffled. "My head still hurts," she frowned. Roman kissed her hair lightly. "It's okay. It will be fine after you take some rest. I can't even remember how I came here last night." Daisy kissed his chest affectionately. He covered Daisy's eyes and whispered, "It's still very early. Sleep with me for a while." His voice was almost inaudible, as if he was about to fall asleep. Daisy also stopped talking and closed her eyes. Roman heard her breathing become shallow and even. He sighed faintly, staring at the white ceiling in a daze. It was all his fault. He tried his best to make her happy and wanted to give her everything. However, he ended up almost destroying her. Thinking about last night made Roman's head thump. He was careless and wasn't able to see through Caroline. If she had been a competitor in the business, he would have been vigilant and would definitely have known her sinister intentions. But she was just a woman who made him feel a little sorry for her. In the past, he occasionally had his doubts, but because she was Caroline, he ignored it. Looking back now, everything became very clear. On the night of the card game in the casino, she had tried to be intimate with him in public. She kept coming to his office for some excuse or the other and kept making insinuations about them in front of Daisy whenever she got a chance. He had never bothered to care about women, but Caroline, this cunning woman, would make sure to show her that she messed up with the wrong person. He wanted to make her lose everything she had ever cared for. He suddenly reached out to his phone on the bedside table and checked the news online. Sure enough, his worries were confirmed. What had happened last night did not go unnoticed by the gossip magazines. Roman hugged her tightly, slowly calming down his emotions. He closed his eyes and slowly fell into a doze. When he woke up again, the room was still dark and the heavy curtains were quietly drawn down. Roman knew it was getting late, so he patted Daisy's face lightly. "Daisy, wake up. You have rested enough. Let's go get some food." Daisy opened her eyes and looked at him all confused. "Why did you wake me up?" He reached down and touched her belly. "Are you hungry? I'll order you something to eat. Aren't we going out today?" "Well, how about we have our meal in bed?" "What do you think?" Roman said. The girl was surprised to hear that. "Will you be okay with that?" Daisy asked him. "It will be fine. I'll call the room service. What do you want to have?" "I was thinking we could have some pasta and wine. You like that, don't you?" Roman said as he sat up and called in. As soon as he hung up on the room service, John called him to ask where he had been the whole time. Roman leaned against the bed, playing with Daisy's hair, and said lazily, "We're still in the hotel." John groaned on the other side. "Don't tell me you guys haven't stepped out yet." "We haven't," Roman admitted frankly. "No way, Roman," John exclaimed. "I'm so worried about the news getting leaked, and here you are, patiently waiting instead of putting an end to this drama. The internet is full of articles about Daisy. The photos have all disappeared, but the trolls are emerging one after the other. Don't you think you should take it more seriously?" "I know about the news, John," Roman said lightly. John yelled even louder. "I've been going on and on about it, and you only have this to say this. The girl has never encountered such a thing. You have to think of a solution as soon as possible." "She doesn't know it yet," Roman said briefly. "I'll come over in the afternoon and then we can discuss." Then he hung up the phone. John listened to him and got so angry. He took time out of his busy schedule to put out the fire for him, while Roman was acting as if nothing had happened. God knows how will Daisy react when she comes to know she has been part of such a scandal. Daisy found herself perched on the bed, cocooned in a soft blanket, utterly unaware of the whirlwind that had swept through her world in the past few hours. Roman had arranged a meal for her, and there she was, indulging in a creamy pudding while seated on the bed. As she savored the last bite, started to get off the bed, but Roman's voice stopped her in her tracks. "Stay right there," he insisted, his eyes fixed on her. "No, don't move. You can eat there." And so they sat cross-legged, facing each other, sharing their lunch in the warmth of the midday sun. Daisy's gaze wandered to the window now and then, and she asked, "You don't have work today, and I'm not heading to college, so why don't we go out for some shopping?" Roman's lips curled into a gentle smile as he replied, "We've done that a lot this week in preparation for your birthday, haven't we? Let's go on a different adventure today." After a brief pause, he asked her, "But where would you like to go, my love? If you really insist on shopping, we can shop." "Anywhere will do," Daisy replied with a cheerful demeanor. "It would be delightful to step out in such splendid weather. I can do anything as long as it's with you." Roman playfully teased, "I thought you were excited to accompany me, but it seems it's the weather you are excited for." Daisy's laughter filled the room as she reassured him. "Oh, don't be silly. I'm overjoyed to be with you, Mr. Roman Spencer." Yet, venturing out for shopping today seemed like a gamble Roman didn't want to take. Everyone in the outside world was talking about Daisy, and considering the lingering traces of videos and photos scattered across the internet, it wasn't difficult for news and paparazzi to find them. He wanted to protect Daisy from all that filth. But there was no way of keeping Daisy locked up without telling her what had happened. So he took her out, planning to keep her to the more secluded parts of the city. Meanwhile, word reached John about their outing in the downtown area. His anger surged, and he couldn't contain his frustration as he confronted Sarah. Is it wise for Daisy to wander the streets like this? She might be bombarded with questions. Roman usually possesses good judgment and reason, but why does he occasionally act so illogical? Sarah maintained her composure for a moment before offering her perspective. "John, our boss isn't someone to act without consideration. I'm pretty sure he weighed all the risks before making this decision. What truly matters now is Daisy's happiness and well-being, and that's precisely what Roman is trying to ensure for her. To be fair, he's doing an exceptional job." John, upon reflection, realized Sarah was somewhat correct. On hearing Sarah, he acknowledged that as much as he cared for Daisy, Roman's love for her was unparalleled. He couldn't deny that Roman was the best guardian for Daisy. With a sigh, John inquired, "How is the PR department handling this mess?" Sarah reassured him, "No need to fret. Our team has dealt with these situations countless times. The boss and the Spencer Group haven't attracted much attention in the tabloids, so we should be able to keep this news under wraps. We will contain it with the minimum damage possible." "That's good." John finally breathed a sigh of relief. John explained the company's affairs clearly and rushed to Miller's to look for Tony. He rarely went to Miller's, but he couldn't take care of this alone. Because there was no prior appointment and he was a member of the Spencer Group, Tony's secretary stopped him from entering. John looked at the secretary and immediately thought of Nina, so he didn't pay much attention to the secretary and went in. Miss Secretary chased after him and looked at Tony with a panicked expression. Tony raised his hand and asked her to go out. John saw that Adam was also there. It was rare that he didn't say anything about him forcibly breaking into the office. John nodded at them and asked, "What's the matter? What happened?" Tony pointed to a stack of photos spread out on the table and said, "Look at it yourself." John thought it must have been a photo of Daisy from last night, but when he walked over to see it, it was Caroline and another woman. John picked up the photo of the strange woman, who somehow looked familiar, and asked, "Who is she?" "Emily," Tony replied lightly. John was taken aback. "The other one involved?" "Yes," Tony said. "Caroline got along with her cousin Emily to plan all of this." Tony explained, "She has a motive for treating Daisy like this." Adam knew Emily from his college visits. He knew she didn't like Daisy and tried to bully her, but no one knew that girl would help in such a scandal. John was stunned again, his gaze shifting between Tony and Adam. "You knew that and didn't tell me about it?" Adam stayed quiet while Tony waved his hands. "We knew she was a jealous classmate, but we thought it was mere jealousy and would pass, so we let it be. Who knew she would do something so big? If we had even the slightest clue she was such a cunning lady, I would have definitely given Roman a heads up." John pointed at him and said, "If Roman finds out, he will be pissed off at you." Tony was a little guilty of just sitting on the sidelines and watching a good show when he could have prevented it. No matter how the relations were between the two companies, this was about Daisy, who he happened to like. It was too low to harm a girl who was so kind and naive. How will he deal with Caroline? Tony asked. John thought and said, "Based on what I know about him, Roman hates it the most when people come after his family, and Daisy is his family in some sense. I do not know what he will do to Caroline, to be honest, but it wouldn't be something she didn't deserve to be done to her, though." What exactly will he do? It was Adam who had fired the question. John felt a little strange. Adam and Roman had never been friends, so why was he so eager to help Daisy? Did he like Daisy? Seeing that Adam was still looking at him, John shook his head. "I'm not his secretary. You can ask Roman himself." Adam looked at Tony, but Tony replied, "Don't look at me. I don't know anything either. If John doesn't, how would I?" Meanwhile, Roman and Daisy strolled through the streets hand in hand. Roman originally wanted to bring his bodyguards, but later thought that it would make him and Daisy stand out in the crowd, making things difficult. When Daisy had said she wanted to go shopping, she just meant walking on the street, basking in the sun. She didn't like to spend money, and neither did she have anything to buy. In such nice weather, being with Roman was more than a joy for her. Though Roman was wrong to assume they would go unnoticed, it wasn't picked up by some big media channel, but some passers-by had recognized them and clicked their pictures and posted them on the internet. Even that attracted some unwanted attention. John saw photos of them shopping on the internet. He went to the public relations department and spent the night thinking about countermeasures. What on earth does Roman want to do now? When Roman took Daisy back to the company, John stood in Sarah's office to welcome them, his annoyance palpable. Roman said to Daisy, "You stay here for a while and I'll go talk to John about something." Daisy was a sensitive person. Seeing that John's expression was not right, she nodded and sat in her seat to read a book. As soon as he entered the room, John yelled, "Are you crazy?" The entire public relations department worked overtime all night because of what happened last night and were finally able to handle the mess. "You're causing trouble again. Don't you think it's enough?" John was still aggressive. "Tell me, what exactly were you trying to do? Didn't you see it?" Roman said. "I wanted to disclose my relationship with Daisy." John called out, "Have you ever thought about your parents?" "I'll explain it to them," Roman said calmly. "What about the board of directors?" John said, "Aren't you worried that those old guys will be breathing down your neck? Who are they to tell me what I do in my personal life, and why will I have to explain myself to them?" Roman said. "What about the company? The stocks will plummet when people hear about your romance. How will they have confidence in you?" John went on to bring up newer concerns. Their confidence in me comes from the performance of the company and has nothing to do with my private life, Roman replied flatly. John stared at him. You are refusing to think rationally, Roman said slowly. It was you who made things too complicated, so I shouldn't have listened to your arrangements in the first place. Okay, if you don't want to listen to me, then don't. John looked at him resentfully. You will regret it when the time comes. Roman scoffed. When have you ever seen me regret anything? John became even more irritated. Roman pointed at him. Okay, don't be so angry now. I will make sure to be regretful, okay? Roman's phone rang, and John sat down with a gloating face. Roman held the phone a little further away from his ear, and when Rachel stopped yelling to take a breath, he said, If you continue to behave like this, I'll hang up. Don't you dare, Roman, Rachel said in a sincere tone. I know that you have suffered a lot these years with Iris being away without even a phone call. If it were me, I wouldn't wait any longer, but that doesn't mean you can jump into a relationship without caring about everything around you. You can't hamper the reputation of our family and go get yourself involved with a nobody. You shouldn't have been so careless about it, and please ask the Public Relations Department to issue a statement or something and find a way to make up for it as soon as possible, or maybe hold a conference and deny all of it. I will explain it to our parents myself, Roman said. As for the rest, you don't have to worry about it. Roman, I'm saying it for your own good. Rachel still tried her best to make him see her point. You don't even know how people turn everything you do ugly and make it their agenda to sabotage the company. If you really like her, you can be in a relationship in private. The whole world doesn't need to know about you two. What good will it do you for the family and the company? Don't be so selfish and just think about everyone around you for a second. Roman hung up the phone without saying a word. Those who want to come after him will always do so, but he didn't expect Rachel to ask him to do such a thing. John crossed his legs and snorted. Look at your face, man. What did she say to make you look so grim? I'm going back to my farmhouse tomorrow morning, and you will preside over the meeting for the shareholders, Roman said, sitting on his chair and opening his laptop. John went out and saw Daisy sitting there reading a book. He thought about whether he should leave her alone, but then did otherwise and called her, Hey there, Daisy. Daisy blinked. John, did you call me? You have been sitting here for a while. Let's go get some coffee. Daisy shook her head. I am not in a mood for coffee. Then John thought for a bit and offered, I'll take you to the ice cream store you love. That was Daisy's favorite, and she would come with him. It's very chilly these days. I don't want to get sick. Then we can chat here. Right? Daisy raised her eyes to look at him. What do you want to talk about? John cast a glance at Sarah, who was listening to them, and said, Maybe we should talk somewhere private. Sarah simply stared at John, wondering what the hell he was going to do. Although Sarah didn't quite agree with Roman's choice to be out in the open now, she did feel it would make their relationship a bit easier. Roman had been clear with Daisy, emphasizing that she mustn't merely listen to them. She doesn't need to do what others want her to, and she could always talk to him. She felt a bit unsettled by the way John was forcing her into a conversation, so she excused herself and ran into Roman's chamber. It was early in the morning, and Roman Spencer drove through the quiet roads to meet his parents. Seeing her son come home to visit them so early in the morning, Victoria was a little surprised. It wasn't even a weekend. His sudden appearance made her nervous. She thought that something must have gone wrong at the company. Roman, why are you here all of a sudden? You didn't even call to tell me you were coming. Roman looked at his mother and smiled. Can't I come to see you and Father without a call? Where is he, by the way? He has gone for his morning walk. Victoria looked at her son suspiciously. Has there been some trouble with the company? The company is all good, Roman said. I just have something important to talk to you both. Victoria became more and more uneasy. What was so urgent that made you visit us this early in the morning? Roman sat down, took the coffee brought by the maid, and sipped it slowly. I'll talk about it when Father comes back from his run. Why don't you calm down and have some coffee with me while we wait? Roman had never been so restrained as he was right now. Victoria felt nervous. Can't you talk to me first? Roman smiled but said nothing. Victoria asked again, Is it a good news or a bad one? Nothing bad has happened, Mother. There is no need for you to panic so much, Roman said. Victoria always trusted her son, but in the end, she was still impatient and called George to come back as soon as possible. George walked into the living room after some time, sweaty and breathless. He was very happy to see his son coming to see them. Roman, what brings you here? Even though I would love to see you any time, I know some important issues must be at hand. Roman has something to tell us. Victoria turned to Roman. Your father is back now. Will you tell us already what has happened? You are stressing me out. Roman stood up with a smile on his face and said clearly, I came here to tell you people that I have decided to get married. Victoria was stunned for 2 seconds before happily saying, That is such great news, Roman. You have no idea how happy it makes us to hear you say that. And here I thought something had gone wrong, silly me. Please tell me when you have set the date for the wedding. There is so much to take care of. I need to know about it. You have to prepare a lot of things. Do you have enough time? She rushed around the hall in excitement and then turned. By the way, why didn't Caroline come with you? When Roman heard Caroline's name, his face darkened and he said, It's not her that I am talking about. What do you mean? She will be your bride, right? Victoria sat down cautiously. Roman didn't know where to begin explaining everything. Had they been living in the city, they would have come to know about everything. They would know what kind of witch Caroline was. But here they were, on a retreat, away from the world and its problems, away from the internet and the news, living like stoics. When Roman didn't say anything for a few minutes, she asked again, If you are not marrying her, then who is the girl you are talking about? Did you have a girlfriend the entire time and you didn't bother to tell us about her? Let him speak, Victoria. Stop with your questions already. George patted Victoria's hand. Let's hear what he has to say. Roman then told them the whole story about how he met and fell in love with Daisy, and how Caroline tried to sabotage their relationship by doing something so shameful. He didn't want to hide it from his parents, and it was way better to not keep them in the dark anymore. Sure enough, Victoria and George were silent for a long time after listening to him, just sitting there in a daze. By the end of the conversation, Victoria looked like she might faint or have a heart attack. This was too unexpected for them, and they didn't know how to react at all. Victoria just shook her head. No, I will not accept it. Caroline's behavior was certainly outrageous, but that didn't mean Daisy could become the daughter-in-law of the Spencer family. Even if she couldn't let Roman marry Caroline anymore after knowing her true colors, she still wanted to find a girl from their social circle for him. A girl like Daisy didn't deserve Roman. George looked at his son and slowly shook his head. I agree with your mother on this. I don't think that girl is suited for you to marry, son. Didn't you guys keep nagging me to get married? Now that I am ready to do it, why are you arguing otherwise? Roman shot back. Victoria said, You can't just come here and tell us that you have decided to marry a girl who does not match our status. If this news gets out, do you have any idea what it would do to the reputation of the Spencer family? Had your grandfather been alive right now, he would have disowned you after hearing you say this and made your cousin the company head. I want you to understand that I am not taking my relationship with Daisy very casually. I love her and she will be the girl who I marry, Roman said. She loves me a lot, and why can't two people who love each other get married? If you were not born in this family, maybe you could, but you are not in a position to be that selfish. You have to take everything into consideration. You are a Spencer, for God's sake, not some random guy who falls in love with any girl he wants. Victoria was screaming now. George sighed. I know we are wrong to tell you this, but what you are asking, Roman, can never happen in this family. If you want to be the head of the company, you need to give that girl up. She will not be worth your trouble. In a few years, when you look back, you will see it too. Roman's expression remained firm. I have accepted her. I hope, given some time, you both will too. They both got up from the couch, and Victoria had the last word with him. You will not marry that girl. We will never agree to it. Roman stood there silently in the huge living room, watching his parents walk away. Sitting in their bedroom, Victoria was almost in tears. What's wrong with Roman? He wants to marry that girl. He has gone crazy or what? How could he even think about it? George sat on the couch, shaking his head gently. It's not very surprising. I had seen the signs of it before. I knew he liked Daisy. I didn't take it to heart thinking that he would move on from it after some time, but nowhere did I expect this to happen. It's not too late even now, Victoria said. As long as we don't bend to his will, he can't make this decision on his own. You know very well how Roman is, George said. Once his mind is made up, it is not very easy to change it. Then what should we do? Victoria broke into sobs. Now that I think about it, if Caroline hadn't made such a mess, he probably would have kept this from us even longer. Victoria didn't know what to do. She did feel sorry for her son, but the things were not in her hands. Roman stood there for a very long time. He had done a lot for his family. He had never wanted to join the family business, but he had. He had left his startup, made the enemies of the company his own, and dealt with Vincent. And for what? To be denied the one thing that truly makes him happy. He couldn't bring himself to move. He didn't even notice when George and Victoria walked and stood in front of him. Watching Roman stand there, George shook his head and sat on the couch. Looking at Roman, he said, "If you want to be with Daisy that bad, then we have no objection to it as long as you don't make it public. If you want to take her to social events, it's up to you, but you will never marry her. Be with her as long as you want, but she can never carry our surname. This is too big a compromise that your mother and I are making for your sake. Please don't expect anything more." Roman took a deep breath, turned around, and left. Before Daisy had woken up, Roman was already out of the house. Daisy made a cup of hot tea and went on with her day. She sat down to paint in her studio. Suddenly her phone rang, and she hurriedly went to pick it up, thinking it must be Roman, but much to her surprise, Ethan had called her. Roman had warned against answering other people's calls, but she wanted to know why he was calling her. As soon as she picked up, on the other side, Ethan rushed into a frantic apology, as though he had very little time on his hands. "Daisy, I know you won't forgive me, and I don't even expect you to after what I did to you. I did an unforgivable thing, and I can't be punished enough for it. I just wanted to tell you that I have dropped out of school. I know you haven't been coming to college, so there will be no chance of us meeting again in the future. I just wanted to apologize to you personally before I leave. I am sorry. I am sorry." His voice choked, but he continued, "I ruined your life and mine. I shouldn't have betrayed you." Daisy listened quietly the entire time, not understanding a word of what Ethan meant. She simply asked, "Where are you going?" "I will find something to do and maybe get a job while I complete my studies," he replied. "It's a pity that you didn't go to the college you wanted to, even after getting such good grades. But why do you want to leave Ethan? Did something so big happen?" Daisy asked. Ethan was surprised to hear Daisy still be concerned about his future. Why was she pretending like nothing had happened? He finally said, "Don't worry about me. I'm to be blamed for everything that has happened to me. I regret not being a true friend to you." "I don't know why you are blaming yourself so much. You haven't even done anything. I think you should stay in college and make use of this opportunity." "No, I don't have it in me to continue like this anymore, Daisy." Ethan couldn't take it anymore. Why didn't Daisy sneer at him, scold him, or just hang up? Instead, she persuaded him to continue studying. Ethan felt so ashamed and speechless that he hung up. She sat there for a long time, mulling over that phone call. Something felt off with Ethan, and she didn't know what. There was terror and shame in his voice. He sounded like he was being forced, and he didn't have much time in his hands. Daisy sat there going over the conversation for a long time, but didn't find anything of substance. When she felt her head might burst into confusion, she went to Roman's study to turn on the computer. She rarely browsed the internet because she felt that her simple mind couldn't handle it. As soon as she went to the news section, she was face to face with the worst nightmare of her life. There were photos of her and Roman shopping together on the internet. She couldn't find any photos from her birthday scandal because they had been taken down, but there were plenty of news articles. They labeled her as a gold digger who was after Roman for his money and status. For a few moments, she sat there like a lifeless statue. She finally found some air and gasped, a sob breaking out of her lips. Daisy blinked and the tears fell. She could take anything but that. She was poor, uneducated, and maybe even socially unacceptable, but she was self-respecting. She felt she couldn't face the world anymore. She wanted to run away into some dark corner and never come back. She acted upon her impulse and made a decision to leave this mess forever. She couldn't bear doing any more damage to Roman's reputation than what had already been done. Daisy quickly packed her clothes, but she didn't take any of the clothes that Roman had bought her. Holding the bag and walking to the door, she looked back at the house, her eyes getting teary again, thinking about how she would never be here with Roman anymore. She left her keys and phone on the dining table. Afraid of causing too much trouble to Roman, she left a note under the phone. The words written on it were short. Just one sentence. "I'm leaving." She didn't mention why she was doing this or where she would be going. Wiping away her tears, she went out with her bag in her arms. She didn't know where she would be going. All she was sure about was that she needed to leave this city. She couldn't spend even a moment here. She went straight to the bus station near her house. When Roman returned from the farmhouse, he thought of surprising Daisy. He went home with a bouquet only to open the door and find the house empty. Roman saw the cell phone and key on the dining table, then the note under it. As his eyes scanned through the note, the world slipped from beneath his feet. He stood in the room blankly, then ran to the utility room. Sure enough, Daisy's things were gone. Roman's heart sank, and he couldn't believe that his girl just left without any warning at all. Again. It had started raining heavily by the time Daisy reached the bus station. She stood under the shed, looking at the vast roads, feeling pain and hopelessness engulf her heart. She only knew that she had to leave the city, but where she would head to had still not occurred to her. The wind was strong and the rain was pouring down heavily, making everyone take shelter in the ticket hall. Only Daisy stood alone under the shed at the entry. Daisy pressed herself against the wall, but her knees were still wet and cold. A man was standing by the hall smoking a cigarette who looked at her and shouted, "Girl, come in and hide from the rain. You'll get wet." Daisy was like a frightened bird. Any disturbance from the outside world made her uneasy, so she buried her head low and did not look at him. Daisy looked at the splashing water at her feet and thought about what would happen when Roman would come to know about her leaving the city. Will that make him sad or will he be angry at her? Looking up, she saw someone walking in the heavy rain from the corner of her eye. She turned to see that the person didn't hold an umbrella and stared stupidly at the man strutting in the heavy rain. She couldn't believe it. Was she hallucinating Roman? It must not be true. She shook her head and muttered to herself, "He is not here. Please get a hold of yourself." She rubbed her eyes, but Roman didn't disappear. He stopped 1 meter away from her and looked at her coldly. The man's body was completely drenched as he looked at her without blinking. His eyes were sharp, shooting straight at her like sharp arrows. Daisy couldn't help but take a step forward. Half of her body was drenched in the rain. She reached out to touch him, wanting to know if he was there. But the man caught her hand roughly, and she felt a slight pain. Daisy backed away in disbelief, all the way to the wall, trembling, almost crying. "Roman, why are you here?" Roman just wiped his face, stepped under the shed, and said through gritted teeth, "You still have the guts to ask me why am I here? I'm here looking for you." Daisy trembled even more. She shrank back and said timidly, Why were you looking for me when I told you I was leaving?" Hearing this, Roman became even angrier and he gave a look. "Why was I still looking for you?" "Well, since you left in my absence, I thought you might have stolen something from me, so I came here to check." "No, I didn't." Daisy quickly waved her hands. "I didn't take anything from you, only my own stuff." Roman glanced at her clothes coldly. "Since you are leaving, why don't you leave these clothes behind?" Daisy shivered as she unbuttoned his coat. Seeing her do this made him think he was going to explode. Did she really think he was chasing after her in such a hurry for a set of clothes? Roman grabbed her hand angrily and said viciously, "You are really something, Daisy Evans. You have no idea what I want to do to you now." Daisy didn't understand why Roman was so angry. She bowed her head in guilt, but said nothing. Roman lifted her chin and asked, "Why were you leaving without even saying goodbye?" Daisy said straight, "I don't want to hurt you. I have done enough damage to your name, and I refuse to continue it the way things are going now." Roman knew he had guessed it right. "Didn't you say that you would stay by my side forever? If I don't chase you away, you won't leave? So they were all fake promises that you made to me. When did you learn to lie so well?" "No, I didn't lie," Daisy said. "I want to be with you forever, but that will destroy you. I don't want to be the one who hurts you. Who said that you were destroying my image?" Roman shouted angrily. "What others say doesn't count. I'm with you every day, and only what I say to you counts." Daisy finally cried out, "But I have seen it with my own eyes, and you know it too, don't you?" "No." The man's heart softened when he saw her crying. "You are just a victim of some people who have been very cruel to you. You cannot fall into their trap and do what they want." Daisy always felt that it was her own fault. She blamed herself and panicked. She only thought about Roman and not herself. She broke into tears, and seeing her like this, he couldn't help it anymore and hugged her. He kissed her head. "Hey, don't cry. I will always be there to protect you." She then noticed that Roman was drenched, so she quickly wiped away her tears and said, "Roman, you should go home and change into clean clothes, or else you'll catch a cold." Roman didn't want to talk anymore, so he held Daisy's hand and said, "Let's go home then." Daisy bit her lip and said in a low voice, "You should go back alone, Roman. You won't come with me?" Roman was taken aback for a moment. He didn't expect that she would still be so stubborn. Roman knew that once she made a decision, it was difficult to change it. It was useless to reason with her at this time. Roman said, "I better find a place to stay for the night, otherwise I'll really catch a cold. Do you have any money?" Roman saw her doubts and said, "I left in such a hurry that I forgot to bring my phone and wallet with me. So tonight's dinner and accommodation are all on you." Daisy took out the card that Andrew had given him from her bag along with some cash and stuffed it into Roman's hand without any hesitation. Roman looked at the money in his hand and asked, "Is it all you have?" Daisy nodded. "I just bought a ticket and the rest of everything is here." Roman looked at her and sighed. She had given it all to him. Why didn't she have the sense to keep some for herself? "Are you really not going to come with me?" Roman asked again. Daisy shook her head. "Then I will be going now." "Okay." Daisy still didn't look up at him and said softly, "Bye, Roman." Roman was furious, but there was nothing he could do about the stubborn girl. "I don't know the pin of your card," Roman said gruffly. "It's 42. Before she could finish it, Roman covered her mouth. "Don't tell me. This is your card. You will need to use it in the future," Roman said. "Help me find a place to stay." He took the umbrella, pulled Daisy into his arms, and the two walked together in the stormy night. There were many large and small hotels next to the station, so Daisy picked one and asked for a twin room. After entering the room, Daisy told Roman to take a hot shower. Roman squinted at her. "You won't run away while I'm taking a shower, will you?" "No," Daisy said seriously. "I promise." Roman snorted disapprovingly. "You have made so many promises to me. Are you going to keep this one?" Daisy murmured. "I promise this time." Roman looked at her. "Even if you run away to the ends of the earth, I will not let you go. Do you hear me?" "Understood," Daisy nodded. Roman glared at her before going to the bathroom to take a shower. Hearing the sound of water inside, Daisy sneaked out and got together a full set of clothes for Roman from the small store they had in the lobby and hurried back to the room. While she was shopping for clothes, Roman came out of the shower. As soon as the bathroom door opened, his heart sank when he did not see her in the room. Daisy came in with a big bag. "I got some things for you, see if the clothes fit you well." Roman hastily said, "Watch out," and moved over to grab her. "Be careful, there's glass on the floor." Only then did Daisy see the broken glass on the ground and say, "What's that?" "I dropped the ashtray on the ground," Roman said lightly. Daisy frowned slightly. "If you keep breaking things, I won't have much money left. I still need to buy us food. Roman immediately said, I will take care of it. Aren't you without money? Daisy asked. I don't have money now, but I can repay you later. Of course not, Daisy said. Forget it. You try on the clothes and see if it fits. I can exchange it for you. Roman took the clothes to the bathroom to change. Daisy had bought them for him for the first time. Roman took them out one by one and looked at them. Even though they looked like they had been bought from a thrift store, his heart was still full of happiness. Roman straightened his clothes and went out. Daisy had already cleaned up the room. Daisy, Roman called her. Daisy turned around and looked at him. Not bad, but then again, you look good in anything you wear. Roman agreed with her, even if he didn't think so. Yes, I think they are pretty good. God knows if John saw him like this, he might die of laughter. Daisy handed him a glass. I made ginger tea. It will keep the cold away. Roman took a small sip from the cup. You have already paid for the room and the clothes. How much did you pay for them? Do you even have any money left? I still have about $500 on my card and a few 5s and 10s in cash. Don't worry, I didn't spend a lot on clothes. They were being sold at a discount. Daisy took out the change in her purse and counted how many bills she was left with. I have a total of $130 in cash left now. I will have enough for our dinner tonight. Roman looked at the heavy rain outside the window with some distress. I'm afraid it will rain for another couple of days. I will have to stay here since it's too risky to leave. I don't think you have enough left on you to cover the hotel charges. Daisy asked him, Why don't you call John or Andrew and ask them to pick you up in the morning? I am sure you must have to get back to the office, don't you? Didn't I tell you that I forgot my phone while leaving in a hurry? Roman had quietly reached into his pocket and turned off the phone when he was at the bus station. Then, Daisy thought for a while and said, There is a phone in the lobby downstairs. You can call from there. I don't remember the number, Roman lied. The number was stored in the phone and I never memorized it. Even Daisy didn't remember any of the numbers on her phone, so she easily bought into his lie. Don't think so much. We will figure something out before the night ends, Roman said, sipping on his ginger tea slowly. Daisy looked at the dark sky outside. You must be hungry. I'll go buy some food for us. Only then did Roman realize that Daisy's clothes were also wet. He stretched out his hand and said, Give me the money, and I'll get it myself. You can change into some dry clothes till then, or else you will be the one to get sick. When Roman came back, he put the things he had bought gently on the table and quietly walked over and sat on the chair by the bed. He looked at Daisy, who was now in deep sleep. There was a strand of hair on Daisy's face. Roman gently brushed it away for her. When his fingers touched the girl's warm face, Daisy's eyelids moved, making Roman quickly withdraw his hands. Watching her sleep in peace made Roman realize how fortunate he had been today in being able to get to her in time. After he had come out of the shock from reading her note, he ran to his car and drove around the city like a man on a hunt. He had every bad scenario that Daisy could end up in play at the back of his mind while his eyes searched for her. The relief his heart felt when he saw Daisy through the curtain of water, standing alone at the bus station. At first he wasn't sure if that was her, but he still couldn't help walking over in the rain to have a look, only to see it was Daisy. At that moment, he wanted to scold her, or maybe hold her in his arms and kiss her fiercely, but in the end, he didn't do anything, just looked at her quietly. It was already pitch black outside with such a heavy rain, even the lights on the street were dimmed. Roman stood by the window and pinched his head as he felt his body wear out from all the things that had happened today. Roman quietly lay down on the bed and hugged his girl in his arms as he fell asleep with her peacefully. When Daisy woke up the next morning, the curtains were not opened and the room was still dark. She was a little confused for a while, not knowing where she was, but there was an arm around her waist. As she turned around, a smile appeared on her face, and she felt at ease watching Roman be there with her. As long as he was around, she would never have anything to fear. Suddenly, she remembered that she was going to leave the city, so why did she sleep in the same bed with him again? Daisy didn't dare to look back and quietly moved to the side of the bed. But as soon as she moved, the hands on her waist forcefully hugged her back. The man's voice was very clear, not at all like he had just woken up. "You want to run away from me again?" Roman had slept very well and had woken up early but stayed in bed afraid that Daisy would sneak away again. Daisy froze there, trying to pretend to be asleep. When the man rolled his arms, he turned her over and made her face him. Daisy closed her eyes, but the trembling eyelashes betrayed her. Roman stretched out his hand to tickle her lightly, and Daisy couldn't hold back, so she burst out laughing. She brushed his hand away and said with a delicate smile, "What are you doing? Were you trying to leave just now?" Daisy smiled but didn't say anything. Roman knew it was true, so he put his arm around her and asked, "Why do you want to leave?" Daisy was a little uncomfortable being pressed against his chest and said softly, "Didn't I tell you my reason yesterday? I don't want to trouble you." "I also said that you were a victim of some people with bad intentions," Roman said patiently. "Come back with me and I will make sure that everything gets back to being normal again." Daisy still remained silent. Roman thought that she would have calmed down and had let go of this absurd idea of wanting to leave the city by now, but it turned out not to be the case. His sweet girl still had her mind set on it and was not able to understand him. Roman was staring at her fiercely. He was still very angry at her, but sighed, wondering how he should deal with her now that she was so adamant about it. Roman was reluctant to let go, but he sat up by himself and also pulled Daisy up. "You're out of your mind right now. Let's just freshen up and have some breakfast. We will talk about it later." Daisy went to the bathroom without saying a word. After a while, she came out and said to Roman, "The toothbrush and toothpaste here are not good. I'll go out and get a new one." Roman thought about the good old days and looked at the stubborn girl, feeling a little annoyed. Roman had wandered around the neighborhood last night for a long time. There were small restaurants everywhere which had some delicious food, but he was skeptical of the quality they offered. He didn't want Daisy to get food poisoning after eating something funny. So he decided to go to a store and buy some instant noodles along with some packed salad. Even though it was not what he would have had ideally, at least he was sure of its hygiene. He took out a box and opened it while Daisy said, "It looks good. I love this ramen. I didn't even notice when you got these last night." Roman handed her the one in his hand, but she pointed to the other box and said, "I'll eat that one." Roman couldn't help being a little angry watching Daisy act so normal, keeping all her attention on food. Was she really not sad to leave him? When she saw Roman give her a look, she had no choice but to take the food he was offering her. She picked up the noodles with a fork and said, "It tastes really good." Roman glanced at her angrily and went to the window to eat his noodles. He didn't know what to do next. Last night, while Daisy was asleep, he had sent John a text asking him to take full charge of the company's affairs for a few days. Before John could reply to his message, he turned off his phone. For him, there was nothing more important than Daisy right now. After Daisy finished eating, she tried her best to hold back her sniff, but Roman turned around and saw the sadness on her face. He was in a way relieved to know that it did make her sad, and she was just as miserable as he was. Roman had mixed feelings in his heart about the whole conversation he had with her last night. He put down the bowl in his hand, walked over to hold the girl in his arms, and said in a low voice, "Daisy, come back with me to our home, and quit this nonsensical idea about leaving everything behind and running off to someplace else. I know you are making yourself miserable by doing this." Daisy buried her face in his chest and hugged his waist, making his chest tighten. He leaned down and kissed Daisy's hair. "It's all my fault for making you go through all these things, but don't worry. I will handle all the problems, okay?" Daisy didn't say anything, but in her head she was still convinced that her leaving would solve the problem of this scandal. So she thought she would leave when Roman was sleeping the next morning. At night, John knocked on Nina's house. Nina opened the door anyway, but stood there with her arms folded, not wanting to let him in. "What are you doing here again? Daisy is gone." "She left the city." John's tone was a little melancholic. Nina was taken aback. Where did she go? No one knows. She just disappeared all of a sudden without any warning. John shook his head. "Roman went looking for her, but I don't know where they both are now." "Did he find her, or is he still searching?" No one knows anything." "How did this happen?" Nina asked worriedly as John walked past her and entered the room. When Nina came back to her senses, he had already sat down on the couch. After a while, John took the cigarette out of his mouth and threw it on the coffee table. When he opened his mouth, his voice was bitter. "I don't think of you as one of those women who I used to distract myself with, and I know you don't like playboys, but I have changed myself. Can't you give me a chance, Nina?" Nina sneered. "Changed your ways? Please let me remind you that you just broke up with your fiancé, and here you are now wanting to find a replacement soon. I never thought of you as a substitute. As for her, I was wrong to even think that I was in love with her." Nina opened her eyes, quite surprised, and then the irony on her face deepened. "You were wrong? It's really rare that you are willing to admit that." John was a little depressed. He wanted to explain, but he didn't know where to start. If he told her that he broke up with Susan because of her, would she believe it? Her image of him as a playboy has been deeply ingrained, and no matter what he does, she will not be able to wash it away. Seeing John silent, Nina said again, "You better leave now. You are just curious about me because no woman has ever rejected you, so you feel that this is new and exciting, but if we really get together, you will find out that I am actually just an ordinary woman, nothing special. So please do me a favor and let me go. There are a lot of young girls out there. Go and find someone else." John sighed faintly and stood up. "I'm sorry to bother you. I'll leave." Nina watched John open the door and go downstairs. She stood in a daze in the living room, then ran to the balcony. Looking at John's sports car, Nina waited for a while, but she didn't see John. She took 2 steps forward and the rain hit her face. Then she saw John, who stood there motionless in the rain, as if he was in a daze. John stood blankly for a while, then raised his head and looked straight at Nina. Nina ran into the house, took an umbrella, and ran down quickly. "John, what do you want to do?" Nina's sharp voice cut through the wind. "What are you doing here?" John rushed up to her. "Don't go out in the rain." Nina stuffed the umbrella into his hand and yelled at him angrily, "Either go back home or follow me upstairs." John didn't even open the umbrella and looked at Nina with a smile. "I'll go upstairs with you." Nina walked past him and thumped upstairs. It wasn't until she entered the door that she said coldly, "I'm afraid you'll get sick, so go take a hot bath and I'll find some clothes for you." John frowned. "Do you have men's clothes here?" Nina gave him a hard look and went to her room in silence. She came out again after a while, holding a set of sportswear in her hand, and stuffed it into John's hand. Seeing Nina really angry, John grabbed the tracksuit and ran to the bathroom. John came out of the bathroom with messy, wet hair, wearing Nina's tracksuit that barely reached his ankle. Nina couldn't help but giggle when she saw him. Daisy didn't leave the next day as she had initially intended to do. When she had woken up this morning to catch the earliest bus out of the city, she went up to Roman to give him a goodbye kiss. But as soon as she touched his forehead, she was taken aback by how hot he was burning. She was surprised that she didn't notice his shivering last night and got so worried about his health. She woke him up and helped him walk to the lobby. She knew his condition would get worse if she didn't take him to the hospital as soon as possible. They had an argument yesterday, and convincing Daisy to stay had become increasingly difficult for Roman. Amidst family and business matters spiraling out of control, her repeated refusal to return with him had taken a toll on him. Following yesterday's argument, they went to bed, and Roman woke up with a high fever, unable to get out of bed. An unhealthy flush covered his face, and he lay there drowsy and unconscious. Daisy couldn't delay any longer, fearing his health might worsen, so she promptly helped him off the bed and rushed him to the hospital. She descended and hailed a cab, instructing the driver to hurry. Roman still appeared uncomfortable, so Daisy sat down and gently stroked his forehead, attempting to soothe him. His breathing grew heavy, and his body burned with fever. At the hospital, Daisy felt a mixture of relief and sadness when she observed his condition. She didn't know what lay ahead now that she was the one caring for Roman. In her eyes, Roman was like a superhero, impervious to illness or injury, always emerging victorious. But now he lay helpless like a child, revealing his vulnerable side. Suddenly, his lips moved, and he uttered something incoherent. Daisy hastily wiped away her tears and leaned in to listen. Roman called her name, Daisy. Daisy tightly gripped his hand and replied, "I'm here, Roman, right by your side." Though still unconscious, Roman seemed to have heard her response. "Don't leave me, Daisy, please. I promise I won't leave you, Roman." Daisy held his hand firmly as tears welled up once more. "Don't worry, you'll recover soon." Roman fell into a deep slumber without further words. Daisy wiped her tears away and pressed Roman's hand to her cheek. He was so feverish it scorched her heart. She felt torn, having promised Roman that she wouldn't leave. Did she want Roman to be infamous because of her? No, she couldn't be so selfish. But what should she do now? Roman loved her so deeply that even if she left, he would pursue her relentlessly, no matter where she went. Lost in confusion, she glanced up to find that the IV bag Roman was hooked up to was nearly empty. She hurriedly approached the nurse to request a replacement, asking, "Why is it taking so long, and does he still have a fever?" The nurse smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, it's nothing serious. He must rarely get sick, which is why his body isn't accustomed to seasonal colds. Just be patient and take good care of him." Daisy nervously nodded and wrung her fingers. After the medication was changed, the nurse checked Roman's temperature again, saying, "The fever has subsided for now, it's not as severe." Really? Daisy also reached out to confirm. Indeed, he was feeling better, but before she could fully rejoice, she realized she had very little money to cover his bills. The nurse handed her some forms to fill out, so she went to the reception to take care of them. As his fever gradually receded, Roman awoke, looking around the unfamiliar room, smelling the disinfectant, and noticing the needles in his hand. He understood he was in the hospital. His first concern was Daisy's absence. He struggled to sit up and tried to get out of bed when the nurse intervened, saying, "Hey, what are you doing? You haven't finished your IV yet. Do you need to use the restroom?" Roman had been unconscious for an extended period, leaving him devoid of strength when he finally awoke. His voice emerged hoarse as he inquired, "Have you seen the girl who brought me here?" The nurse replied, "She's gone to the emergency department." Roman further pressed, "Why is she in the emergency department?" The nurse hesitated briefly, but the intensity in the man's eyes compelled her to divulge the truth. "The girl was filling out your paperwork at the reception and noticed a nursing vacancy in the department, so she decided to take it." Upon hearing this, Roman abruptly attempted to rise from the bed, but faltered due to dizziness. The nurse quickly restrained him, saying, "Stay still. If you're determined to find her, I'll call her for you. When she left, she entrusted your care to me, so don't wander. You're not fully recovered yet." Roman glanced at the nearly depleted IV bag and declared, "Remove it." The nurse inspected it and urged, "There's still a bit left. You need it. Remove it." Roman's icy tone left no room for negotiation, prompting the nurse to comply by swiftly removing the needle. Roman stood and headed for the door, questioning, "Which ward is she in?" The nurse replied, "I'm not certain. Let me find out." She hastened to the clinic and made a call to ascertain Daisy's location, then relayed the information to Roman. He thanked her quietly before departing swiftly. Upon entering the ward, Roman found Daisy absent. An elderly man occupied one of the beds, peacefully resting with closed eyes. A passing nurse noticed him by the door and approached to inquire. Roman inquired about Daisy, and the nurse informed him that she had gone to organize the supply closet. Upon reaching the supply closet, Roman spotted Daisy engrossed in arranging scrubs and masks with utmost concentration. This environment was unfamiliar to Roman, and even standing at the entrance, he found the odors unpleasant, wondering how Daisy endured it. He strode in, firmly grasped her arm, and led her outside. Daisy, unwilling to create a scene in front of the others, didn't resist much and allowed Roman to guide her out of the room. Once at a distance from the onlookers, Roman turned to face her with an irate expression, demanding, "What were you doing here?" Daisy didn't immediately reply, but gently touched his forehead, expressing happiness. "Your fever is gone now, but the doctor said you'll need a checkup tomorrow when the blood reports arrive." Roman, growing impatient, reiterated, I asked, what were you doing here? His tone turned harsh. Sensing his anger, Daisy meekly stood there in silence. Come back with me, Roman urged, wanting to hold her hand, but Daisy withdrew hers. In a soft voice, she explained, I still need to finish up here. You should return. After a pause, she handed him all the money from her pocket, saying, You're still unwell. Take a cab, and you haven't eaten since noon, so remember to get something to eat on the way back. I'll come after I finish my shift. Roman grew increasingly impatient and pushed the money back into Daisy's hands with anger in his voice. Who asked you to become a nurse? Was it me? I have the money. I don't need you to work as a nurse. Daisy's eyes brightened. Why didn't you tell me earlier? You could have bought a ticket back to the city. Roman grumbled. I don't have it now, but I will when I return. Daisy sighed. That doesn't help, Roman. We need the money right now. It doesn't matter if you have plenty back home. Roman hesitated to reveal the truth, fearing Daisy might tell him to go back to the city, and he wouldn't have any other excuse. He replied somewhat angrily, You can't do this job, especially when we're low on cash. I can't agree to it. Daisy wanted to make her decision clear to him. It's not just about money. I've already promised them that I'll finish the chores by the end of the day, and they'll pay me tonight when my shift ends. It's just for one day, Roman. Then we'll have enough cash to get by. Roman firmly refused. If I say you can't do it, then you won't. Left with no choice, Daisy proposed. You can wait for me in your room. I have to check on the elderly man in the next room. I need to give him the medications the doctor prescribed. She hurried to the other side of the ward. Roman blinked, wondering if she hadn't understood his words or if she was simply ignoring him. He had clearly told her she couldn't do the job, but she walked away. Daisy returned to find Roman still in the corridor, looking stunned at her audacity. Her voice was breathless as she implored, Please go back. Your fever has just subsided, and you'll catch a cold again outside. Take care of yourself. I'll be back when my shift ends. Roman felt increasingly uneasy at her words and said sternly, Don't you understand what I'm telling you? I won't allow you to exhaust yourself. I can take care of you. Daisy stood her ground and spoke softly but firmly. Roman, you can't dictate what I can or cannot do. I can make my own decisions, and you have no right to forcefully impose your will on me. Roman was determined this time. He didn't want her to continue. He tried to negotiate. How about I find someone to do it for you, all right? He took Daisy's hand, saying, You haven't eaten today, you must be hungry. Let's go grab something to eat, shall we? Daisy withdrew her hand, stating, I'm not hungry. You go back and rest. I'll try to finish my work early. In the end, Roman had no choice but to assert, Then I'll help you finish it as soon as possible. Daisy protested, knowing Roman wasn't in a condition to even stand for long. No, you're still sick. You need to rest. Roman paid no heed to her concerns and kept on insisting, If you won't let me help, then I won't let you do it. When Daisy heard this, she argued, Your fever has just subsided. You can't risk getting sick again. We don't have much money. She made it clear that if his condition worsened, they wouldn't have enough money for his treatment. Hearing her argument, Roman gave up his insistence and simply said, Then hurry up. I'll be waiting for you. Daisy smiled and handed him the money, saying, Go get some food from the hospital canteen. We can eat together when I come back. Roman nodded, asking, What would you like to eat? Daisy did not feel like having anything particular, so she left it to Roman. Anything, as long as you can have it too. Roman knew she would not demand anything, so he turned around and walked towards the elevator to find something nutritious for them.